All right, we got a Cat 955L. Today we are doing a transmission seal. That's gonna be right there, in that right there. So anyway, I do have the loader locked out on the other side. There is a safety mechanism over here because everybody's gonna comment on it. It is locked out. You know, I don't put 100% faith in that, but it's okay. Most of my work's gonna be under the machine. So to do the seal, so far, what I've done is I took all the bolts, which were a 19 or a 3/4, out of the yellow bell adapter piece right there, all the way around. And then we've got all these pucks, which I have to reach behind. This guy goes here. So the yellow bell goes right here. That's where you see that mark. And then you reach behind them and you break them loose. So one of the things, and that's going to also be a 13 3/4 or a 19. One of the things we got to do here is you're going to have to hold the flywheel from spinning when you're trying to loosen or tighten these bolts. So I used a pry bar through the top, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Kind of went between these guys. So as I spun it in that direction to loosen it, actually was like this. And there's another one right here. And as it turned, it locked, got hard, and then you're able to break these bolts loose with your wrench and then just ratchet them off. So I'm going to show you, I've got all the top ones out. I've got 2 more on the bottom. Let me crawl underneath the machine and show you what that looks like. Okay, we are under the machine now. There is the front, and there is the leak, which actually you can see right there. I've got this pry bar, kind of like what I was talking about, through the top, except I put it through the bottom. We've got 2 more of these left. What I'll do is I'll break one bolt loose, the other one, and then the other ones, and then I'll drop the pry bar out, and we will have a bunch of loose bolts, which we can take out with a ratchet like this, and we will drop the pucks out and the bolts, and then this guy should be able to slide forward and drop out, and I should be able to peel out and tap in a new seal. If I cannot do that for some reason, let's say there's not enough space, most likely what I would do is I would undo the flywheel bolts and drop this adapter off the flywheel, and then I'll have a ton of space. And then we can do that seal. So give me a second, I'll show you what this looks like. So we've got the pucks all out, and next up is I'm going to climb up top, grab an oil pan. I'm going to try slide this forward and see if this bell piece drops off, and if it does, we are in luck, and if not, we are screwed. I'm just kidding. We just have to get all these other bolts out and remove that coupler and see what happens next. Okay, so we're at the top. We've got an oil pan down below just in case. I'm not sure how much fluid's going to come out of this. Now what I'm going to do is painfully try to get in here. I'll actually just set up the phone right here like this. Oh. And I'm going to try to get in here and wiggle this guy forward and see what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen here, so just going to slide this guy forward. Look at that. It's a dream come true. Look at that, guys. Oh my. That's an interesting angle, isn't it? Okay, we got this bell piece on the track now. We are 100% clear down there, which is awesome. So next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try pop and peel that seal out. Uh-oh, that doesn't look right in there. The fuck is that? So an odd thing that I'm trying to do with trying to get this seal out is I'm gonna use this pick right, this pry bar, mini pry bar. I wish I had one slightly longer, but this is gonna have to do. It's got a bend to it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in and try to scoop right behind the seal, and it kind of just fits in there nice and snug, like that. And then I'm gonna come in with my big pry bar right behind it pry against the bell housing, pushing on the little pry bar, and I'm gonna see if I can't walk this seal forward. So as you can see, I got my pry bar in, and then here we are, like this. And I'm gonna pry, and hopefully it should kick the bottom of that seal out. If this works, I just want to show you what it looks like. I have to switch it up because okay, so I have this wrench, box end wrench, that's picked right behind the seal, if you can kind of tell from this grainy, blurry iPhone footage, because iPhones suck at making videos. Anyway, I got it right behind the seal, but I have no fulcrum point. So what I'm doing is I put the wrench behind this up against the housing like this. So now I have a fulcrum point, and I'm going to try push straight back to get my leverage, but I also can't push on this because my elbow's against the... Anyway, I'm going to try to do this with two hands and see if I can't get this to have enough force to pick the bottom out and pop it. Okay, so try number like what? 234. Anyway, check this out. So I ended up putting the wrench, shallow fulcrum against the housing, and I put it up in here like this, like that. And I actually ended up spinning around, putting my foot on it because of leverage. And I got the seal to pop forward. So we're walking it out, we're making progress. Now I just got to figure out, maybe actually if I go the other way this time. Problem is getting the angle in here. Get that like that, and then I'll put my foot up here again. Got it. And that's why the seal leaked, is because the bearing was fucked up. I knew it. Okay. So earlier in the video, I was like, wait a second, what the fuck is that? And then I continued on. It was because when I zoomed in, I could see that the bearing was exposed. And I said, I don't think it's supposed to look like that. And so here we are. And I was right. So yeah, you can see that rust and stuff in there. It's been leaking for a while, and this has been grinding up. So now it's an even bigger job because I got to figure out how to extract this bearing while it's in place, and that may or may not be an easy job. And if you're curious, this new seal is a 4408 cat, so 5S-4408, or a national seal. 50. I can't read it myself. It says 5S-4408, and this says 5S-4408. Cool. So these are the same seals, national and cat. If you're curious. And so next thing we're gonna have to figure out is, how do we get that bearing out of the transmission? Okay, so now that we got the seal out, I found that this bearing was in pieces. And so the next part of this video, I guess, would be how to get this assembly out. It turns out that if you take these torque converter, this is a torque converter output or input shaft to the torque converter. If you take the bolts out, but you leave one on the top, one on the bottom, relatively loose, and then you take another bolt, or take one of the bolts and put it back into the threaded hole, either on the top or the bottom, you can walk this thing out. I had a pan here for oil. I got a little bit of oil out here, not a lot, which is good. Didn't make a huge mess. And now this cover is just loose. So we're gonna loosen that last bolt, take the cover out, and then we can do the bearing and the seal and everything on a bench, not under the machine. Cover is out on the bench, and because that snap ring had fallen out and this thing had walked forward, all I needed to do was grab a chisel or a punch and just start to knock the sides, and she's walking right out. We are back. We have the new part. It is a cat number 5H1901. There's our bearing. We're going to slide that guy into this cover now it's all cleaned up. And then that bearing, the inside rollers, just ride right on that surface right there. Sorry for crappy iPhone quality, remember. Right there. Doesn't look the prettiest, but based on the age of the machine and what we use it for, we're not too worried about it. But that should be a lot cleaner and smoother. And then the seal surface, we'll put a new seal in this guy, which will go onto here. That's your sealing surface there. So now that it's out, let's put this guy together. So we've got that bearing in, and I know that it's good, hammered in well, because if we flip this guy up, we will see that it bottoms out on the landing right there. There's no gap, which is good. And it spins freely. Next up, we have our snap ring, which that is a little tricky, because as you're putting it in, I have to feed it in on one spot and then feed it around, and then it laps over itself. And I have to use a screwdriver to kind of tap it into place to get the top layer of the snap ring to slide under into the groove. Once I got that, it snapped, put the seal on, tapped it on with a seal driver. It's flush, and now she's ready to go back inside. And so we'll feed that in, put some bolts in, and get this done. Also, a fun fact here is on these lip seals, these groove seals, or lip seals, what you call them, you generally have a spring that's on the inside. And what I did was, when I put this together, I put that guy back in, and I said, you know, I don't like the way this feels. It just doesn't feel like it's got enough inward pressure squeezing around that shaft. So what I ended up doing was I peeled the spring out of the new seal here. It's gonna be hard to show you, but what I did was I found the tip, because if you didn't know, they are actually a straight spring. I'm not gonna get this out without damaging it, but it's a straight spring, and it's got a oh, here it is. It's got two halves, and let me see if I can't show something. You basically grab it and unscrew it. So I can't find it, I can't get it off, but what you do is you grab the two halves and you unscrew it, lefty loosey, righty tighty, and then it'll be a straight spring. And you're gonna trim off, I trimmed off this little bit right here, just a little bit, you know, a little bit of the spring. And then I screwed the two tips together nice and tight, lefty loosey, righty tighty. And then I put this guy back in on the underside of this seal. And I'll show you what that looks like. You can kind of see it in there, and you may or may not see it, but it's actually on the back side of this rubber seal. You see it right in there. Where'd you go, buddy? Of course, it's not gonna. A little bit of a spring in there. You can see that spring. So now that I got that back in, I'm gonna go try it again and see how it feels. And actually, I could pick this guy up and set it right on here, and I can feel the drag, and that's all I want. All this bucket is